doing today? Excited to be here? Woo, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer. Got to get some energy up, guys. So this morning, we're going to be talking about AI trends that are changing the customer experience, something that I truly, truly love, something that I actually think about probably all the time, and something that I hope that you guys, in enjoying possible, see all the details that we think about when we think about building even an event. So everything that touches this brand, we think about how are you going to experience that, whether it's your online journey, your product journey, or even an in-person event. So I want to thank everyone for coming out to Possible Day 3, and I'm thrilled to be back in London. It was August of 2022 when we launched Vantage Cloud Lake and ClearScape Analytics. And that seems like a long time and a short time all at the same time. And we had our first Possible after the pandemic right here in London. So this is our third year and growing. So welcome back, all of you. Yesterday, you'll remember that Steve talked about us as a trusted AI company and what that meant. He talked about some Formula One examples, healthcare examples, and also an NFL football team, and what those experiences are and what those customer journeys look like, and how Teradata is a trusted AI company. You also heard from Hillary, Lewis, Tim, and, I'm thinking Dan. Almost forgot that because he was throwing his cards and I couldn't remember his name at that point, about what we're doing, not just on our roadmap, but really the great technology that we're bringing to market. And today I'm going to talk to you about how we're taking both what you heard yesterday from our leaders already and the market research that we have done to talk about what those trends are and how they affect customer experience. As a marketer, I do a lot of research. It's really, really important what we understand about what your expectations are, not just as customers, but what are leaders thinking about? And we talked a little bit about that yesterday. And Steve also mentioned the Gartner Hype Cycle. This year's Gartner Hype Cycle was released about 3 weeks ago, and it had 4 key themes. The first, well, in no particular order, but just 4 key themes. AI, total experience, which includes customers and employees and whatever other experience you can put together, productivity, and security. Those were the 4 key things that came out for their emerging technologies survey as it relates to the hype cycle. And what was talked about in their report was really not only where each of those trends are, but as Steve mentioned yesterday, that AI was now kind of on the disillusionment part of the curve. So not surprisingly, today we're going to take a closer look at a couple of those topics, specifically around AI and customer experience. You don't have to look far back to kind of just put yourself back in the place where we were with cloud and what that looked like when cloud was relatively new, what the expectations were, what the hype cycle was around that. Everyone was expecting to pay as you go, auto provisioning, everything was just going to happen instantaneously. It didn't, and then all of a sudden it did. There was just a tipping point. At some point, it became fairly ubiquitous, but that's not how it started. That's how we're thinking about AI, but everything is happening quite a bit faster. Not all technologies, as Gartner states, actually become transformative. However, AI definitely is one of those technologies that is truly transformative because, truthfully, it's not like it's totally new, but it is more mainstream than it was before. So we're still in this hype cycle, but this morning we're going to talk about where we are just in terms of the journey, specifically with one of our largest banking customers and how they're manifesting their AI journey. last year, we published some research with Forbes. So if you came to this conference last year, you would have known that we released a study called Enterprise 2030 with Forbes, where we had surveyed over 1,000 executives, primarily C-suite, to understand what their thoughts were on advanced analytics, AI, and really kind of just this whole data ecosystem. And we learned a lot. And we found that organizations, for the most part, had some similar thoughts about the way that they thought about AI. And we'll talk a little bit about that more today. So they were thinking that most of the customer experiences that you all experience pretty much on a day-to-day basis, that they were going to be driven by chatbots, and that your virtual or your customer experience journeys were going to be AI-driven. And at that time, which was pretty much only about 13 months ago, that 30% of organizations will deliver automated AI-driven customer experiences. That number, as of this moment, seems pretty low comparatively. That was the number last year. That number is much, much higher today. And so today we're going to share some insights with you on a study that we did with 300 C-suite executives that we just did about 3 months ago. And we're going to talk specifically about AI use cases that are coming to the market right now, specifically around customer experience and how it is changing the customer experience journey. We believe that AI can be used to improve the personal experiences and engagement that customers have, and that is a pretty important use case. And the reason it's such an important use case is that even if I wasn't talking about AI, the use case of customer engagement and how to improve your relationships with your customers is the number one use case that comes out in all market research that we've done in terms of how people think that they're going to grow their businesses. So they think that, generally speaking, it's the secret sauce. It's the magic. What can I do to improve by 1 point of share? What does that mean? How do I reduce churn? How do I improve how you feel about me as a customer, particularly when we're in really competitive markets? So to help build that understanding of AI and what the executive needs are, we partnered with a leading global B2B research firm. Some of you may be familiar with them. They're NewtonX. And I'm thrilled to be joined on stage this morning with Louise Moyne, who is the Senior Director of Strategic Analytics and Data Insights at NewtonX. Welcome, Louise.
That's great. And that way of not just instrument, it's that from
Good to see you.
Excited to be here.
Louise, thanks for joining. So could you share a bit about the work Newton has done, not just specific to us, but just in AI in general and what you've learned, because you guys have done a lot of amazing work.
Sure. So I've been with NewtonX for 3 years, and I can tell you over the last year, we've seen how AI is reshaping marketing and customer experience. So we surveyed CMOs, revealing how they believed AI is going to shape the future of marketing. We did this with Wall Street Journal. And then also research with C-level executives on retail, how AI is impacting retail. We did this with Google Cloud. And what we found is that an astounding 95% of them said that generative AI will have a large impact on customer experience. So within this year then, with Teradata, we launched a joint research initiative to dive deeper into how C-level executives across key functions, so business, customer-facing tech, are navigating the challenges and opportunities of AI, and particularly how trust in AI is impacting decision-making and its critical role in enhancing customer experience.
So we know from our surveys, and I can even say from my own experience as a CMO, that people, just creating content with Chat GPT is not the necessary experience that we're talking about. That really, what is it that a business can really do to really drive customer engagement and experience, and how to have greater business impact and business value and to become more trustworthy. So where are people, where are their pain points? What are you seeing? What's going on?
Yeah, so I think most surprising to me in the research was, and in the findings, that there's a disconnect between AI and business strategy, if you can say so. So the one side is that a strong majority of executives wants to see a return on investment for AI within 6 months, which is super fast, right? And even more staggering, 84% of executives want to or expect to see results within a year, which is still very fast, considering what is going on in the market. And that said, only 30% then, so a minor fraction, say that their AI strategy is fully aligned with their business strategy. And this disparity highlights a critical issue because AI strategy is not yet aligned to business strategy. And still, businesses are pushing for these rapid returns without fully integrating AI initiatives into a coherent strategy on organizational level.
So that is a little bit that talks about the disillusionment, and also similar to what we saw with cloud, where there were these really high expectations to begin with, high expectations that these technologies were going to be delivering right away. And I do think that that's true with AI in many ways, that people have this expectation that, to your point, that within 6 months, they're going to see their total business change, which probably isn't as realistic, in that this really is more of a multi-year process or steps along a specific value chain.
Yeah.
So we also have one of our major customers at one of our major banks who's really also focused on AI and how to drive business value, as we've talked about, in customer experience. And so we're going to have Antoine Mendel come to the stage. He's our next guest, and he's going to talk more about how he and his bank are driving AI and customer experience.
Just great to influence. What they thought.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
So welcome, Antoine. We're really excited for you to be here. You have more than 17 years experience in data and technology, really spanning multiple industries, retail, finance. But tell us a little bit more about yourself, because you can describe your experience much better than I can.
Yes, so I'm working for a bank, a large French bank, which has domestic markets in Europe, in Italy, Belgium, and France, of course. And I'm working in the global marketing services, which deliver solution for marketing business to do customer relation management. And more precisely, I am responsible for the assets that allow to do real-time solicitation to our customer when they are navigating on the home banking website and the application home banking also.
So when you say real-time solicitation, you mean that if I'm on my mobile phone, an offer comes to me, or I could be online and an offer comes to me, and that happens in real time?
Yes, exactly. So it's based on every event we collect when the customer navigates, and some of scenarios of navigation trigger a request of next best action. The next best action will be a banner that will be displayed in real time. So it's a right banner, the right offer at the right moment. So it is very efficient.
And not to do a shameless plug here, but how many, I think you told me yesterday, I know that it's millions of transactions, but...
Yes, per month it's millions of transactions. We have 6 million customers in France, 1 million in Italy, and 2 million in Belgium. And To give an example, in France, the peak per second is about, we process 300 sessions per second. So it's a huge infrastructure to handle that.
And tell me again what product you're using?
We are using VCX, Vantage Customer Experience, which is based on the Teradata database. And we also, for the collecting part, use a software which is a partner of Teradata, which is Celebrate.
Awesome. And what's so interesting about this is from our survey, as you know, Louise, it was 51% of the people were thinking that they were going to have high productivity from what was going on with AI. And the other 50%, or probably the same, really wanted to focus in on customer experience. And so, again, just so important to help drive revenue. So one more question here, Antoine. I know that in terms of personalization and the KPIs that help measure that, and I know that you've done a lot of work on that because that's also so important. Can you share a little bit more about that as well?
Yes, because it's personalized banner and the right offer at the right moment. The click rate is really more important than when it's not a personal banner. And the sales per shares also. I think it's about 10% more, so it's very efficient.
So interesting when we look at this statistic here, just in terms of the way that our research shows us that the potential for AI, particularly around customer-facing applications, is just so critically important. But when you think about I would say this delta between the 54% and the 42% of people seeing the same level of success with customer experience as they do with productivity, there's a big opportunity to improve the customer experience, like you mentioned.
Yes, I completely agree. And for now, we don't enter decision tree that makes the decision to what best offer to do our customer. We don't use AI or machine learning for now, but I think it should be the next step to improve the quality of the solicitation and also to make more complex the triggering of solicitation when there is a navigation. Because for now, it's quite simple, the trigger for the next best action. For example, you go on the insurance product page, you will have a banner talking about insurance products. If you go on the loan page, or if you start a simulation of a loan, you will have banner to propose a loan. But there should be really more complex navigation that triggers offers. And that could be done thanks to machine learning with existing model or models that we could build from our own.
Now, when you think about just in terms, because I know some of the improvements that you already mentioned to me when we spoke earlier, what it has been the overall growth that you feel has been driven by some of the customer experience actions and things that you've taken that you've built?
It's difficult to say, but for now, the business want to have you want to know what is doing and what will be the solicitation on our customer. I think they are precautious, and that's why maybe we don't use yet machine learning, because they want really to be sure and understand that in that case it will be this banner. And when you have AI machine learning, you can have. I think they fear there could be an inappropriate solicitation, so they don't take the plunge for now. But I think maybe it's us IT to convince them, the business, and to explain them that it can be sure and efficient, can be trusted AI.
So, without me saying what you're saying, so you are saying how important trust is in AI in these trusted environments.
Yes.
If you think about the future, both you and Louise, just in terms of the overall experience and what you believe, particularly from our study, how companies are leaning into the experience, particularly predicated on AI. What do you think some of the risks are and some of the opportunities?
Yeah, so first, it's not really technology that is being the issue, but more trust in AI. And in the survey, we found that very clearly, and which is also the reason C-level executives more focus on internal productivity first versus going for customer experience actions. But this risk is mainly seen in customer data breach, legal liability. It's stronger in certain markets like Europe, for example, where there's a different perception also with risks and GDPR and all that. But this is where the opportunity lies, especially, I think, for Teradata to establish as a trusted leader in that space, in the AI space.
And that would explain some of the caution that you talked about. And just going back to this kind of everyone being very excited about something, but really being very cautious at the same time and making sure that you're taking the proper steps to ensure that you protect your company's reputation. And as you said, it's not just the it's not just the technology, but being able to trust it, which is why people believe that increasing productivity is that first use case that everyone is leaning into. Any other comments that you want to make on gaps?
No, just how to address these gaps is surely the most interesting aspect. So I actually wanted to ask you a question, Jacqueline. As you know, we uncovered many insights in this study. This is just a fraction of it. But I'm curious, what are the next steps or the key takeaways you had impacting your business decisions that you're taking with Teradata now?
Well, first of all, thanks for doing the study with us because we learned a lot. And, you know, I think that fully unlocking the potential AI, particularly with customers, really starts with what is your strategic approach and how does it align to your overall business goals. And that's what we hear from senior executives, and that's what you hear in boardrooms as well. So when you're thinking about how to have these conversations, particularly with your senior leaders, it really does start with how does it align to your overall business objectives. And kind of going back to what we said all along, privacy and ethical behavior becomes even more important. You all heard that from Giles yesterday and how critical that was or is. Really focus on maximizing value, because if you're not maximizing value, why are you doing it? You're not doing AI for AI's sake. There's no reason to do it. You still have a lot of technology that's available to you to run your businesses for using advanced analytics. I think we haven't even kind of met all the thresholds that we can meet there. And then last but not least, clear, it's important. One of the things that you heard yesterday specifically from Louis, Tim, and Dan was really the notion of scale and the ability to ensure that you had the right infrastructure so that you could do things at scale. And I know that's so important to you, Antoine, particularly being at a bank. And so when we at Teradata really think about AI and trusted AI, it's kind of this three things really coming together. We believe that it's the way that people, data, and AI work together to really build trust. And we do that through the people that are doing the work. We think transparency is critically important. And at the end of the day, there's nothing more important than creating value for both your customers and your company and your employees. And so with that, I love to thank you all for being here with us today to share the insights from the study that we did, Louise, for you, for being a partner to us, Antoine, and thank you for joining me today on the show. Thank you.
Thankful.
Wow.